Oh, and finally, I've got the Egyptian sources on this, but they're elsewhere. I don't have them with me. I've got them. I'll do another tape to actually show you the Egyptian materials on this. This is the paper version. But the final, very Egyptological, very interesting thing Joseph Smith identifies with facsimile number 3 is Osiris Khenty Amenti. And this is the President of Heaven. Now, Joseph Smith identifies facsimile number 3, the figure on the throne, as the Grand Presidency of Heaven. That's very interesting why he does this. Because Osiris Khenty Amenti, on this throne, in this particular type of a scene, is precisely the president of the spirits in heaven. He is the Grand Presidency. He is preceding the spirits, as you can see in that facsimile number 3. Hugh Nibley noted that in his lecture, One Eternal Round. I believe it's in tape 10. Because that so astonished me, I went and looked it up in various Egyptological journals and materials and from the Egyptologists. The evidence is overwhelming that Joseph Smith didn't get close. This isn't an almost or a maybe. This is perfectly described, perfectly depicted. Joseph Smith hits the bullseye on this one also, as he did with Pharaoh and Prince of Pharaoh as Isis and Mot. As I've been elaborating for what now, 2.5, 3 hours? Osiris in facsimile 3 is the Grand Presidency of Heaven. He is called Osiris Khenty Amenti here. Egyptologists translate this as, this name means first, or president of the Westerners. In other words, of the dead. He's in the spirit world. He's the Grand Presidency of Heaven. The Egyptian word Kent and it's a series of water jugs. It's a series of water bottles. They actually wear it as a crown on their head sometimes. This means in front of, or foremost, according to Carl Theodor Zauzich in his book on hieroglyphics and how to read them. It can mean preeminent, following Mark Collier's interpretation of Osiris. The Egyptologist James P. Allen, in his new grammar, has demonstrated numerous meanings of Khenty Amenti. Namely, it means at the head of, or foremost, foremost of the Westerners. Khenty Amenti can mean to promote, to cause to be up front, advancing, sending someone or something upstream, to be bent forward. You notice the various shades of meaning. Osiris as Khenty Amenti wears the white crown, according to Budge, and this is what we see in facsimile number 3, as the Grand Presidency of Heaven. He properly wears the crown as the president. He is preceding the group of the spirits in heaven. Eric Winter has demonstrated that the white crown is actually an epithet of Osiris himself. In Budge's hieroglyphic dictionary, we read that Kent means the first rank, or leader, before him, he who is at the head. Raymond Faulkner's Dictionary of Middle Egyptian translates Kent as who or which is in front of. It is used of degree, such as principal of offices, and which is at the beginning of, or else something that is outstanding. It is also translated as ranking, or as a position, such as who is at the head of. So what do we have here? Osiris is the first, foremost in front of the dead. We even call him, can we even call him the head god of the gods? That reminds you of Joseph Smith's translation of Genesis 1:1. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim ve'et haaretz. Yes, very interesting, isn't it? The Egyptian translation, he who is at the head, is the equivalent to the head god of the gods that Joseph Smith taught about the Grand Presidency of Heaven in Genesis. This includes the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, in a triad of presidency with the head god of them all. He identifies the Osiris figure in facsimile 3 as this grand presidency, who precedes the dead. In the tomb of Tutankhamun, Anubis is described as he who presides, Khenty, presides, this equals president, over the embalming booth. Presiding, preceding, presidency, the head god of the gods, this seems to be an exact Egyptological match. Abraham has received his exaltation according to D&C 132. He is sitting on Pharaoh's throne in facsimile number 3 as Osiris, exalted in this deification scene. Joseph Smith may not have exactly translated the Egyptian words in a one-to-one translation. That's true. We know that already. We're aware of that. But his idea comes across very well in the mythological, the ideological, the mythical, and the royal ideological and theological views of the ancient Egyptians as to what their destiny was going to be. Yes. He connects the mortal realm to the eternities. Absolutely. That's what these facsimiles are doing. He's interpreting the Egyptian symbols into the greater reality of what they represent. This is the function and purpose of symbols. They represent a greater, more comprehensive reality than what is actually drawn. It is, to use the most comprehensive analysis of Egyptian symbolism, it is the changing of existent reality to a more desirable situation. Again in the Papyrus of Ani, we see Osiris seated on the Mot platform with the human being led into the divine realms. So Joseph Smith did identify mortal leaders as immortal Egyptian gods and goddesses. He did bring the wrath of professional Egyptologists upon his head for doing this. We understand that, but by analyzing the ancient Egyptian thought of the religion and the mythology and so on and so forth, we see Joseph Smith gave us correct principles to go by. He gave us the accurate and actual ancient Egyptian understanding of what these symbols were supposed to be depicting. He didn't mess up. He didn't prove he didn't know anything about the Egyptian language. Amenti, the grand presidency of heaven. Pharaoh as Isis and Prince Pharaoh as Mot. The personification of the concepts and the ideals in people form. That's what Joseph Smith gave us. And he gave it to us as only he could as a true prophet of God.